Welcome to the show today. My guest today is Jack Prow. Jack was once a broke tradie who was kicked out of school twice and told he was going nowhere in life. He then discovered the world of online business and since then has launched a 5-figure-a-month clothing brand, a marketing agency, a romantic experience marketplace, and built a community of other online entrepreneurs. I want to bring Jack on the show to find out more about his journey from being broke and unfulfilled to where he is today, and to learn more about some of his current projects. So Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So I would love to start a bit on your background and story because it sounds like an interesting one. So maybe you could just tell us about, a bit of your background, how you kind of grew up and what you were doing before this whole entrepreneurship thing.
So basically, I won't go too far back, but pretty much a typical Australian family. Parents didn't really do much. Dad worked for Qantas for about 30 years. So in my life growing up, money seemed like it was impossible to get. The thought of, I heard consistently that money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford this. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
I fucking hated hearing, we can't afford this, we can't afford that. It used to, that was one of the biggest things that bothered me because all the kids around me when I was growing up, they all had little pitster motorbikes, or they would get new clothes, new skateboards, new this, new that. My mum used to make my clothes for primary school, not high school. I wouldn't let her make my clothes for high school. But growing up till I was probably 18, it was consistently money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford this. I never had a job either growing up until I hit 17 and I was kicked out of my second school and final school. And so up to that point, and then even coming into the world of having to get a job, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what a job was because parents didn't put me through doing the typical McDonald's or Safeway or your typical kid growing up jobs or anything. So I went straight into hard labor concreting for one of my mum's clients. She was a bookkeeper, and getting into there as well, we
So you basically you never had a job growing up and then straight into this hard labor. Was it a bit of a shock or?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I'm explaining it in the right order.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a job before as I was growing up, and then getting into that concrete job again, it was obviously you're at the start very labor intensive, no money. I think I was making $150 a day only, and from there again, because I didn't grow up with money, or we didn't have money, no one could get money. That seemed impossible to get. So anytime I had money, I got some money in, I'd blow it straight away. It was all gone. Every single paycheck, I was living paycheck to paycheck for a good about 5 years of my life that I was doing this concreting job. And then one point, I turned into a little bit of a party animal through those days as well. So in the concreting days, just because the words business, the word marketing, they weren't in my perspective whatsoever because parents didn't do it. I was around nobody that did it. It wasn't anything that I would even think about. Sometimes you hear people, they do their parents might, make them wash cars or mow lawns. My parents I'm not bagging on them either. I love them to death. I respect them, very grateful for everything. But now I see how powerful some things like that are in your life growing up, because it teaches you money and it teaches you savings, it teaches you skills, it teaches you to work towards things. If you want something, here's a job to go and do to get the money to go and get the thing that you want to get. And I had none of that when I hit even working. So started working, would spend it all, and I did that for 5 years. I turned 18 in that time as well, and I learnt what interest-free finance is. And then I started getting TVs from Harvey Norman, cars, what else was I getting? TVs, cars, things for my car as well. Anything I could find interest-free finance on, I was in. And then the other silly thing is I was doing it as much as I can. So, because in my mind, I had no idea about money. In my mind, it was, okay, I have about, let's say, maybe $500 to $700 a week to spend. So in my mind, I'm I have $500 to $700 a week to blow on anything I want. And then as long as I've got like a little bit left over for lunch and whatever, I'm good. So I never really understood, that how damaging that was. So I ended up leaving that job after about 5 years. I just sort of went to another concreting job because I didn't know what I was doing. And then over that time, as I was hitting my party stages as well, so I was going out every weekend. I'm talking every weekend for about a good 3 years, like Friday to Sunday, and there was no stopping on those days. It was go for a good, I'd say again, 3 years, about 18 to 21, about just go. So I was really, the more people I help now and students I get on board and people that join my communities, the more that they're like, I'm doing this right now, or like I'm here right now.
Was this in Melbourne that you were doing?
Yeah, like on this street basically, like the next street down.
King Street, yeah.
I would have walked up and down this street at probably 6 a.m. most Sunday mornings. And and then one time, wouldn't say that part got really bad in my life. I was always had like, I'd like to go out and have fun, but I didn't let it become like a negative in my life, where other than the blowing the money consistently, making myself dead broke every single weekend, chasing repayments, had to pay people back for things and everything. But my mum would, like, I'd come home some mornings and she'd be like, when's this gonna stop? And I would honestly say to her, like, she even says it to my girlfriend now, I would honestly say, like, one day I'm going to be so overdoing this stuff and I'm not going to care about it anymore, and I'll stop going out, partying. It'll all just stop. And then I can't remember exactly when, but at some point I literally was just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So you were right.
And I full stopped. And I don't know how close to that time it was. I was at the second job I was talking about, and I said, I don't want to work here anymore. I noticed one of my, someone I had on Facebook at the time, I don't think Instagram was around. I had on Facebook, he climbed these towers, so like your mobile phone towers, and I'd never seen that before, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So when I decided I'm not going out anymore, I'm not doing all this partying, I'm not doing all this like blowing my money, like I want to do things now, I asked him, what do I have to do to do this stuff? And he was like, oh, get this ticket. And I think he was trying to flex on me, like, oh, you gotta get this ticket and that ticket and like these tickets, and like I'm writing them all down, and he's like, yeah, and this one you got to go here, and I think he was saying it to me to be like, yeah, look at all the stuff you got to do. And I was like, okay, cool, Mum, I need to borrow some money. In 2 months I went and done all my tickets, and I come back and I was like, hey, I've done them all. And he was like, what, you did all of them? And I'm like, all of them, everyone you said. And he was like, oh, and I was like, oh, he was talking shit, like he's not going to be able to help me.
Oh man.
But his dad ended up calling me, who owned the company, and his old man was like, yeah, cool, come in, like you actually did that all by yourself, come in. And because it was like a switch in my life that I went from being just not giving a shit about anything, because I was young as well, like I don't know if anyone around me even gave a crap about anything too much. We were all just like go tramp on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and like recover on the week and just go, and that was all we cared about. At this point I was like, I want to be better, I want to be like, I felt like I always sort of had like a vibe that I felt like I could achieve a lot if I really wanted to. Like,
did you always feel that, or?
Yeah, honestly, I've always thought I was weird. Honestly, like growing up, I was a real shy kid. I was scared of fireworks. The noise of loud noises I couldn't do with it, like balloons popping. Like I was a little shy, crybaby, mama's boy kid. But I always sort of analyze things differently. So like I'd look at situations differently. Almost like you know when you hear someone, they're a little bit cooked, like in the sense that like they talk like weird, and you're like, what are you talking about? That's how I felt a lot of my, I guess you could say, childhood, of what I could remember. So growing up, I always felt like, that's what I mean, like different. I don't mean like, I was gifted in some, I just always felt like I was a little bit more, I don't know, in the head weird to everybody else. But I knew going through my life, up to that point, I remember being like, if I wanted something, I would get it, even if it was on finance, and like even if it was on putting myself in debt or something. Like, I had this thing where I was like, if I want it, I end up getting it. And up to this point, everything I've wanted, I have got in one way or another, even though I've put myself in debt, which anyone could do. But I think that little thought there made me feel like, oh, I can do anything I want if I really put my mind to it and want to get it. So then when I got over everything and I'm like, I'm going to get these tickets, I'm going to get in this job. And again, that job looked that cool. I just wanted everybody to see, like, what's Jack doing? Like, what the hell do you do? And then before I knew it, it was like I started there. Within 12 months, they made me supervisor there. They bought me a car. They gave me like the phone, the laptop, all the stuff. And that was where I was like, whoa, I had this big transition from 12 months ago. I didn't care about anything. All I cared about was going out and like hanging out with the boys and DJing and whatever. And within that point in time, I was like, I wanted the car. When I got there, you know the Volkswagen Amaroks? They had just come out and my boss had one. And he bought like the first ever ones that come out. And I was like, that's the coolest looking car I've ever seen in my life. I want it. And then I was like, how am I going to get it? I'm in like 30 grand debt with like other car loans. I didn't even have a car. That's the other thing I missed out there. So stuff before trying to figure out the proper timeline. I had 2 cars. I had 1 car. I sold it and bought 2 cars. I wanted like your drift car, and then I wanted like a daily car because I got into that for a little bit.
Yep.
And then both those cars blew up. So then I had no car and a lot of debt, and I was driving around my mum's car for a little bit to get to work. But within that 12 months, I said when I started there, I'm like, I'm going to get this Amarok one way or another. And then I thought, I'm not going to be able to get more finance. There's no way they're going to give that to me. The only way I can do it is if I like bust my ass here at this job now and get to a spot where they say you're supervisor, because then it was known like when you're supervisor, you get a car, you get an Amarok because they get. And I was like, I'm going to bust my ass until I get to that point. And like, I was like the ended up being like not sucking up to everybody, but like if we'd get out to a site and you climb a 200 meter tower once, you don't want to climb it again for the rest of the day. I would climb that up and down if the boss was like, oh, I left this down, I'm like, I'll get it. I'd go down the tower, come back up the tower. Like every night I went to bed, I was wrecked. We were traveling away, so I was, by the like second week of being away, I was sick. I was like worn down. My body was like, because I would just go as hard as I could because all I wanted was that Amarok. And then within about 12 months, they said they're going to put me supervisor, gave me like a project to manage. And then they said, we can either give you like a work car with a toolbox, or you can go and get like your own car and then we'll pay you to use the car. So then I was like, I can get the Amarok. And by that time as well, I had paid off all my debt because we're working away. I didn't have any expenses or anything. You get paid to be away.
It's amazing. So it sort of sounds like you kind of realised that anything you put your mind to, you could actually achieve.
100%.
With enough work.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, when did you kind of start to see and look at like entrepreneurship as something that you could do?
Yep.
When did that start to happen?
I was away, travelling away, so got the car, and within about another 2 years of working there, again, loved it, it was a good job. Then I started realising how much I hated being away from everybody. And at that time as well, I was in a very shitty relationship. And because I was travelling away so much, this is literally why it started, because I was travelling away so much from home for like weeks at a time, I knew that the second I left home, that person, I won't name names or anything, but that person was very manipulative, narcissistic, and like out to not make me happy. So anytime I would leave, it was on. So I'd be away for 3 weeks, 4 weeks at a time. And the whole time I was barely eating. I had crazy anxiety. I couldn't sleep because I just had anxiety so much. And in there, I'm starting to think, I have to stay home. Like, what can I do to stay home? And they also made me feel like I wasn't enough. I didn't have enough in my life. Like, my parents didn't earn enough, or they weren't big enough, or like I was just a dropkick tradie I didn't feel like I was enough, and they were pumping that in me. So I had two sort of stabs coming at me. One was like, you don't do enough, you're not enough. These people have these businesses, they're driving these cool cars, they're doing all this stuff. And then the other one was like, every time I'm away, it was hell. So I'm like, well, what can I do to fix both of these to stay home? And I'm like, I'm going to have to start a business. Like, I'm going to have to try and start earning money. And then I'm like, maybe I'll start my own telco business. Like, telecommunications is what we were doing. Maybe I'll start my own telecommunications business. That was just going to send me away even more. And then I thought, well, I started Googling, like literally Googling and YouTubing how to start a business. And one of the first things, or the most things I kept reading was like, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? What can you serve people with? What can you... And at that time, there was nothing. All there was clothes. I liked clothes. I liked fashion. That was it. So I'm like, I'll start a clothing brand. And then that's where Check 6 arrived from. I bought a book from some dodgy little milk bar in the middle of New South Wales. And I just wrote about 20 names down. And then I just picked one that looked the coolest. And I was like, Check 6. Everybody was like, Check 6. What's the... Like... That's like bagging the name, like, what's Check 6? It's lame. No one was about it. Everyone was like, that was a crazy part. If you ever start something, it's like, I'm not sure, even for yourself with this podcast, it's everybody's like,
everyone's got an opinion.
Oh, and they're so negative. Like, you can have like people around you that like love you and that are like close to you, but they just got this like negative. Yeah. I'm gonna start a podcast. Why?
Yeah.
Or like, who are you gonna interview? Like, it's just some vomit. So that was instantly, everybody was picking on the name Check 6 and starting a clothing brand. Everybody's doing a clothing brand.
So how did you get past that? Because a lot of people try to do something like that and then they get that backlash from people who are close to them or random people, and then they just cave and stop doing it. So how come you were able to push through that?
I think because I had someone like making me feel like if I didn't do something great, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I'd lose it all or whatever. And then I had a lot of passion, like that's why it started. And then I had a lot of passion in it as well. I would be designing things, like you always sort of got your little, like a little, hopefully it's a lot bigger, but I always had like a little group of friends that were like fans, and they were like, yeah, that's sick, let us know when you release. And like that sort of gives you that like, awesome, like sweet, that drive to keep going. But other than like it is, I guess I could just say, yeah, like that. I had passion in what I was doing, but I hadn't released anything yet. I hadn't had a store up and running yet. You just like, hopefully it doesn't happen to the majority of people. You consistently sort of have that, like you got to, like that embarrassment feeling the whole time that you're doing it until you don't. Until you finally officially are like, I do not give a shit about what anyone says, but until you can hit that mark, you always sort of have that like, oh, what am I doing? This is so embarrassing. What do they think of me? They're probably saying this about me the whole time. So it was always there. But I think, you just got to like, I don't know, maybe like 2 cups. You got like a full cup full of people, that feeling, and you just got to keep worrying about filling the other cup up. Eventually that cup's going to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's, you just can't stop. Maybe that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because it's like with anything, like...
It's almost like, I feel like if you do anything for long enough, you're going to get competent at it.
Yes.
And so I think if you're able to sort of push that through that initial stage where you're getting negativity, eventually you'll be able to overcome that.
Yeah,
Sounds
definitely.
Like you did. So...
Yeah.
What was that transition like from, I guess, what you were doing before? Like... It sounds like you didn't really know anyone who had like online businesses.
No, not at all.
Like it wasn't really your world at the time. You were in this telecommunications tradie sort of world. What was that transition like, going from that to online business?
Good question. I was like majority of the boys and the dudes I used to work with, which is just like an asshole, judgmental, ego, not going to say that word, but that word.
Yeah.
Just like, and I was like and so when you're trying to tell those guys what you want to do, they're the ones that are like coming down on you the hardest, because they just come down on everybody, like everyone, they just got a negative opinion on the world. with everything. It's just everything that comes out of them. I say it's vomit. Even like when I'm talking to my partner and she's like, I was at work and someone come in and said this. I'm like, it's just vomit. They're walking around looking for people to vomit on, and then keep going like bleh, and then keep going on about their day. So trying to transition from there, it's like a lot of self work. You got to look, because you got to step back. I always say you got to stand outside of the bubble and you got to look at how your perspective actually is. So like when you're in that circle there. And everybody around, not everybody, but majority of the people around you are like that, and you're trying to do these extraordinary things, these big things, these things you want to go up there, everybody wants to stay down here. And a lot of the people down here, it's okay to be down there, you don't have to go up there, but when you want to like transition, like you said, out of that and go and not be held back, you got to like stand, or this is how I look at it, you got to stand outside and actually like analyze what you're around, and then pick and choose who you want to give your time to. Because the people that I had a big group of friends and I gave a lot of time to them, but still to this day they give me the hardest time ever. They're supposed to be like the day ones, and they give me, I had to leave we're in a group chat. I had to leave it. I had to just get out of it, because anytime I come in and ask for opinions on things, they would hammer me, and I'm like, what, really? Like, you do just supposed to be day ones. I don't mean to sound like I'm being a sook here, but like you guys are supposed to be from like day one. So then right there, you got to be like, remove and get yourself out of the situation. So I think the transition, it's significantly hard because you have to do a lot of self-work on yourself to be able to stand back and realize, I'm like this, I want to go do all these things. These guys don't. I need to make a decision right now whether these guys or girls have the best interest in me, are going to help me do what I want to do. And if I decide then, or you decide, or anyone decides at that moment, I don't have the balls to give it up and go after the big things, then every time something happens, I'm like harsh with it. Like, it's your fault. If you are still hanging around it and you are like consciously aware of what they're like, and you're still hanging around it and letting them hold you back or letting it hurt your feelings, like, it's your fault, because they're not going to change, and that's fine. That's just how they are. There's nothing like bad or negative with it. It is negative, but like that's just how they are. Yeah, and you choose to be like, no, you don't have to cut them off. I'll say to my girlfriend, you don't have to cut them off, but you have to cut them off. Like, don't cut them out, gone, but just in here, just cut them off so it doesn't hurt you.
That's it, man. It doesn't have to be like a dramatic like breakup kind of thing. It's just maybe you just don't reply to their message for a day, or just don't proactively talk to them, you know? It's
totally
just small things,
Yeah, you have to do I probably have two people that I would say would do anything for me, and I'd do anything for them. 3 years ago, I felt like I had like 30 people like that. Wow. And it's
just trimmed it down.
Oh, you have and now I'm, I honestly could not be happier, more satisfied, more content, more calm, more collected, more relaxed, just more like everything's good, because you don't have a single, what do they think? Because you don't care what they think, and their opinion's not even accessible to you. Where like I was saying, when I would go into my group of friends, and I would say, this is for the agency me and Alvin have going, and I'm trying to I wanted to help tradies out, because like they're my people, that's who I would get along with. I like shit stirring, I like the whole all that stuff, the work site banter, and I realized that no one's really helping tradies get more leads or grow their businesses or anything like that. So I thought, well, it's such a big thing in Australia, there's a potential gap I can potentially fill. And
was this after Check 6 or?
Yes, sorry.
So what happened with that business?
So with Check 6, we were going nice and strong for once. I was traveling away, and I decided one day I just got sick of being thrown around from state to state and never coming home. And then I just decided one day, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And they were like, okay, again, because I knew nothing about business or anything. They were like, oh, do you resign? And I was like, trying to stick it to them. And I was like, yeah, I resign. So they're like, okay, cool. So then I didn't get any payouts. I didn't get anything. So me being like at that time very ego driven, like, yeah, like stuff you, I'll resign, take that. And they would have been like, oh, thank God for that. And so I got home, and then my boss was like, oh, so you reckon you're going to start your own business? And he was like laughing, picking on me, bagging me.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, yep, I'm doing it. And then he was like, yeah, all right, cool. Well, I'm sure we'll see you back here in a couple months.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That light a fire under your ass?
Yeah, I didn't say it to him, but I was like, now I don't care. At the time, I had like that, like, yeah, you wait, I'll be back. Like, in my freaking fancy car and whatever, thinking that they're going to be like, give a damn.
Yeah.
But that's where Check 6 became, I didn't have any work. That's where Check 6 became like my full focus. And before then, it wasn't really like I'd sell some t-shirts here and there. I invested in an online course. I didn't have that much money saved up at all. I had like a couple $1,000s, nothing significant. And I got an email talking about someone's course that they had. It was like a drop shipping course. So, yeah, like e-commerce, whatever. And I had an e-commerce brand, and I thought, I'll just wait till they get to the marketing stuff, and then I'll utilize that. And it was the first course I ever bought, and it was like $1,400. And I walked out of my bedroom to my mum, and I'm like, I'm going to buy this course. And she's like, who's the teacher? And I was like, I don't know, these two American dudes. But like, they said I can do this and blah, blah, blah. I bought that. Had to wait like 4 weeks until they got to the Facebook ads part. I started implementing what I was learning with Facebook ads. And Check 6 went from, at this time we had a pair of sunglasses that weren't meant to, they were faulty. So I got a few pairs made. And one specific pair, they came back and I was like, oh, these are crap. I would never wear these. They look like LCD Lady Gaga sunglasses. And I thought, I'm not wearing these ever. And then I thought I'll put them up on the website just to make it look like we've got more stuff. They sold out in like, I'm talking like that night. And people were like, when are you getting more back? And I was like, what the hell? So then I got another 50 made, put them up. I'm like, what is pre-order? How do you pre-order? Because I had no idea what I was doing. They sold out within that first week. The next 50, I hadn't even run ads yet. It was just on Instagram and people telling people. And then I ordered 100, and then same thing happened. And then by the time all those ones came over, I ordered 1,000, and then within probably the space of a month, all 1,000 were gone. And then it was just, Wow. It was on. And I was like, my mum was like, what the hell? Everybody was just like, what the hell is going on? I had no idea. Like, I had to figure out logistics, postage, everything. From it kept growing, and it was good, consistent for about, I'd say, probably 2 to 3 years. From that moment, it was like going strong. In that time, I started looking into other types of online business, because I was like, I'm an entrepreneur now. What's an entrepreneur mean? Entrepreneur. Then the likes of like Pat Flynn would come up, John Lee Dumas, Chris Ducker, a few other guys that have like the Shopify Masters podcast. And on the way to my next job that I was working at, I would just consume podcasts there, podcast home, podcast there, and in that time, from listening to like a podcast on the way there, something would click, and I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then I'd listen to the next episode on the way home, and it would click again, and I'd be like, oh. And then things just kept clicking and clicking, and then I was like, Pat Flynn was talking about making ebooks, and I started thinking, okay, I have a skill now. I know how to make a clothing brand, and everybody kept asking me about clothing brands. So then I started investing into making my first ebook about how to start your own clothing brand. And then that's where the spark started for like online products, digital products, information products, membership, where like that door opened. And from that door, my focus changed a little bit from seeing with Check 6 how much was involved physical wise, the designing of an item, getting samples made, adjusting the samples. That could take a couple weeks or even a couple months. Finally, you've got the finished product. Then mass production time is like another 1 to 2 months. Getting it shipped over here, all the customs fees and shipping fees and taxes and GST, and on top of the production costs. get the stuff here, get photos taken, do like a campaign video, put the photos on the website, and then start making ads, testing ads, running ads. And then finally someone buys and you finally make like $50. And I was like, I'm doing all of that. And I was so like, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. Like that's, majority of my mates that are in this stuff all do e-commerce. And I love the whole e-commerce thing, but my drive and passion was like, okay, there's so much work involved with that, where over here, I'm selling this ebook for like $97 and selling a couple a day, and I'm not even running ads. I'm just like talking about it on Instagram, and people are buying it. And I was like, I just made that up like off the top of my head. And then that's where that started heading to, and helping people as well. I started getting more. I got bored of the Check 6 thing. Like I hired my sister. She was doing the picking and packing. My mum was doing the bookkeeping. And I really didn't have anything. I didn't really have much to do. So. And
sounds like the dream to some people, but
totally like, and I respect that for sure. And then we had an agency again running the ads, so there was a part where you just sort of like I was so unfulfilled, and I was so bored, and I don't know if I have, everybody says, oh, I have ADD, I don't know if I do or not, but I need to be doing things, and
I think it's the same for a lot of people. Like, people think that they want to get to that point where they don't have to work anymore so they can just relax.
Yeah.
But when you actually get there and you relax for like a week, after like a week, you're kind of like, all right, well, this isn't really fulfilling.
It's not. That's what it is. Like, you're bored, but like, why are you bored? Because you're not fulfilled. And you think it's so good to be there. I used to stand, even now, like at my home, if they're like working on the road or the footpath, I'm like standing at my bedroom window, like looking out at the traffic controllers, just being like, oh, I'd love to just, I'm going to be that old man out there, like telling them my life story. And I'm like, and I'm only 29. I'd like, you envy that connection, talking to people. But I guess it was more passion, and it was more fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling me and I guess my drive, my dreams, my goals with Check 6, the e-commerce stuff.
Yep.
Maybe if I had a team, maybe if I had some people somewhere to go similar to this, different story. But yeah, for me, I started realizing, and that's what you got to understand to anybody that's watching, listening, that might be in one thing and thinking like, oh, this is, I've been doing this for like 2-3 years or something, even 10 years you might be doing something, and you're like, oh, I don't really like it. It's not fulfilling. Like, it's totally okay to just go stuff it, either sell it, get rid of it, or just move on to something. Like, this is life. And if you've spent a significant amount of time doing something that you're like, I'm not really enjoying this totally, just cut it, and like within reason when it suits. And like just go do something that you love. That's I guess that's where the big transition from Check 6 onwards happened.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's cool that you recognize that as well, that it wasn't something you wanted to keep doing, so you moved on from that. Did you sell that business, or did you just shut it down?
No, we just shut it down. So we had a big run-in with a fulfillment warehouse and a postage company, and that was really, we had like a big ongoing battle with them. And then with me, in the meantime, I'd started an online course, and that started like taking off like crazy. So I was helping people there. I was making content. In the meantime, we'd taken everything Check 6 out of the fulfillment warehouse, and then just back into like friend's garage and fulfilling stuff from there. And just things, I was slowing things down just so I could manage it, because by this time, like, I'm wearing one of the watches now, and I still love the watches. I still love all of the items, but the passion was so far gone, and because of all the drama, it turned into this like painful thing. It was like, oh, I wish people would stop buying stuff because I have to like fulfill things. And then I started talking to someone about selling it, and they were like, you could sell it now, but you're going to want to have it in a fulfillment warehouse, because they're going to want to buy it and not have to worry about anything. So then I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to build it back up again. And then me and my bookkeeper sat down and started working out numbers, length, time, predictions of like how long it might take to get it to a spot where we can then, or I can, sell it potentially. And it was going to be months, like doing the whole new ranges, getting stock, all of that. And then opportunity costs, like we were speaking about, you end up being like, I can spend 6 months going hard to get this somewhere, spending all this other money, and there's not even the guarantee sure that it will take 6 months. It might take longer. Or I can just be like, I gave it a shot. I gave this one a shot. I've just got to cut my losses and, use what I've learnt to move to the next one. And that's more the route. It was like, I've got this other thing that's killing it in comparison. I guess the two hands I had to work with, I was like, it was hard because I felt like a giant failure. But it was in the best interest.
It's hard because, like you said before, opportunity costs. It's great that you're able to be self-aware and actually see that is the case, because a lot of people, they have that sort of sunk costs bias where they've invested a lot of time and energy into something, and then they don't want to be like, oh, that was all for nothing. It wasn't all for nothing, but it just makes sense for you in that situation. Like, stop putting your energy into this, start putting it more into this other thing that's taking off, and that's where you're going to get the best results.
I feel like because a lot of my students that come into my programs, I'm consistently like trying to tell them my story, trying to tell them my experience, trying to say, like, if you've been going for like 3 years selling t-shirts and you're only selling like 2 a week and you're still like loving it, like, that's great, that's amazing if the passion's there for like the selling the t-shirt thing. But like, if your end goal is, I want a big brand and I want to do, like, you got to start thinking, is what I'm designing what people actually want to buy? Or is the business I have made right now, is it capable of doing these big things? And I try to like say it because I know you don't want to shoot someone's dream down, but you want to try be the good mentor and say like, hey, consider these things. And just recently, one of my students, he's got a sunglasses brand, and I think it was in one of my podcast episodes, or maybe you watched a video one of the trainings. He was like, hey man, I understand it now. And he's like, I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do right now. I'm going to have to like save up. And I was like, man, like, don't take that like it's a failure or anything. Like, you're understanding what it really is now, and you're doing what's necessary for you to succeed. Also, where I feel like a lot of people, they get in and they get that real heart love for their first attempt at something, and they hold on to it for too long. When you just let it go, but you got to analyze it and make sure that it's right to let go. Because but I feel like that's one of the major issues. A lot of first time, including myself. I think 12 months went past.
I get it, man. And take the lessons from it and apply them to the next projects. But don't be afraid to cut something that's not working.
You'll come out like, the second I let go of Check 6, and I thought everybody was going to be like, oh, you failed. Like, you fucked up. Like, you're shit. You shouldn't be doing it. Like, all the stuff that that's why I kept holding on, because I was scared everybody was going to think something or be like, oh, you shouldn't be teaching this if you didn't know. Or you start getting imposter syndrome and all these other, self-doubt feelings. And then the day I was just like, to my bookkeeper and everything, it's done. It's over. Ads are off. Website's down. Cancelled Shopify. Cancelled this. It's done. We're on to the next thing. No one cared. Like, no one cared. No one said anything. And it was like a weight had been taken off my back, where I'm like, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I can just focus on what I want to do now. And that you take, like you said, all of the experience, all of the knowledge, all of the ups and downs with you to the next one.
So good. And I want to talk about some of your current projects. I want to be mindful of the time as well. So maybe, yeah, do you want to tell us about just some of the things you're working on today? Because I think you got a few cool things in the works.
Yeah, so I would say the main two is something called the Entre Hub and Just for Two. So the Entre Hub is basically, I love producing content, helping people. Just anything that I feel like I know, or anything that I've made money from online, anything that I've seen somewhat of success from. I love sharing it with people, as many people as I can. Also creating a community of other like-minded people, because that was the other thing, like we were talking about at the start. You realize how against you a lot of people are when you get into it. And there's nothing really in Australia. I know there's a lot in America, but there's nothing really I've found or I can see in Australia that's more focused on millennials. So maybe anywhere from people from like 16 to 35 even, that can go and be around other people and we all accept you. We're all like, you come in with an idea, we'll be like, yeah, that idea is sick. Or if it's actually shit, at least you're around people that understand what's good and what's wrong, or can help you with that idea and be like, hey, I see where you're going with the idea, but maybe like do it like this and you would get better results, and like help them rather than being like, why are you doing that? Or that's shit.
Yeah, it's constructive.
Yeah, total constructive. And community. And because I like the e-commerce, the branding, there's a lot of me still from like Check 6 that I want to bring into the Entre Hub. I want to have like, you know how when you walk around here and there's all the uni students, we're here in the city, wearing like RMIT unit. I want to have like the same like Entre Hub, that community vibe. People want to wear Entre Hub. People want to have like the hat, the bags. So that's basically what the Entre Hub is. It's more like, community full of trainings, video tutorials, monthly mastermind masterclasses that we talk about things. We jump on calls together. It gives people someone to come to as well. I'm not saying I'm some top dog, but just I know a lot of things that they would like to know, and it gives them the opportunity to reach out and feel safe and feel like I got someone there that can help me. And if I don't know something, I'll be able to find someone that does know to help them as well. So it's more, like a community of entrepreneurs. It's like an entrepreneur hub was the name behind it. And Just for Two it's like a online curated directory of the most fun and romantic places to eat, places to drink, unique accommodations, things to do. There's a lot more in there in the future, as in like the moving, like a lot more I'm going to do with Just for Two. That's going to be the main focus of what I do. It's more like it was a little passionate idea that I was just spending a couple hours a day on, and now the vision for it is like, let's go after this. Like this could be like a big thing. I want it to be the vision. There's so many things that I'm not going to be able to remember off the top of my head. But
I love the idea, man, because it's like, because I've been in that situation before where you're trying to look for somewhere to go or activities to do, and there's random sites where information is scattered around. But there really isn't that one website, which is what you're sort of putting together.
Yeah, like just exactly that. If you're sitting here and you're like, oh, what do you want to get to eat? Or like, what are the most common things you eat when the main focus is to do it with like couples, but I still want other people to be able to come on there and find things. But when you're sitting there and you're like, oh, what do you want to eat? Because I was the biggest drainer with like my partner. I was like, what do you want? And then she's like, I don't know. What do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. And then we're looking around, and like you said, you got to look on Instagram, and then you got to go on Google, and you got to look here, and there's just all this fluff around everywhere. And there was no, especially for breakfasts, that's where it started. There was nowhere for breakfast. And so I just started finding the best ones around, putting them on the website, and then it went to like burgers, because we'd eat a lot of burgers. Put the burgers on, and then it went to like other vegan places, and then from there it just grew, and then accommodation, and then things to do as well. So yeah, I want it to be known that's where you go. Like when you're traveling, you'll go to Airbnb, but when it's like, do you want to go away somewhere this weekend? It can be fun or romantic. Let's go on to Just for Two, and let's have a look what there is to do in Just for Two. If you're in, I don't know, Lawn right now, and you're like, oh, what can we get to eat? going just for two. It's got the best places, not like random Indian food and random pizza joint down the corner. It's got like the wood fire pizza, which is here, and the Mexican whatever it is over there. So I'm super excited about Just for Two.
I love that, man. So cool. Can't wait for it to launch. Just on the business side of that, I'm curious, like, how are you looking to actually monetize that for yourself? Is it a marketplace where you've got kind of sellers who are listing their services and they're like paying a subscription or something, or is it ad revenue, or like what's your kind of plans?
Yeah, cool. Good question. So when I first started the idea, and I'm like, I'll just start dumping. I was calling them suppliers. No one's an official supplier yet, because the idea was to have it like Airbnb. You could book on the platform, but the more I would reach out to people that are on Airbnb and on someone else as well, they were telling me how much of a nightmare it was having a few different booking systems. So right there, I was like, I know everybody says like the customer's always right. You want to serve your customer. I want to do both. And I want to make sure that everybody that's listed on the website as like a supplier, as I just named them, that they are like, we love Just for Two more than anything else. So in doing that, I've decided not to. You maybe in the future you'll be able to book on the website, but for the time being, I don't want any. I want people to have a good experience. I don't want, if they're on Airbnb, I don't want them to have to integrate their calendar to us, Just for Two. They book in on Just for Two and then realize that they're double booked. Dramas. So instead, right now it's more like a directory. You can click and it'll take you to the Airbnb, or it'll take you to where the supplier wants them to go. And then, so with that, I sent out a few emails at the start saying like, it's going to cost you $10 a month to be on Just for Two. No one got back to me. So then I was like, okay, maybe if I build the website and put them on there, show them the listing, what it looks like, then they'll pay me. So I did that. No one got back to me. And then I was like, what do I do? And then I'm like, okay, I'll just say it's free and I'll see if they get back to me. So I said it's free. All of them got back to me. They were all like, yeah, awesome. Blah, blah. So then I'm like, okay, so that's what they're happy with. I had to test their market and be like, they just want to be on here for free. Because again, what's Just for Two? Who am I? No one knows. So now they're coming this year, when I figure out how to like make a better search system and everything, there'll be an upgrade. So like a featured listing upgrade. So that will be a subscription option for suppliers. Again, if another supplier reaches out to us, I'm not sure if this is a bad thing. Again, I'll have to test it. If I put people on there, to me, it's like, yeah, like you're the best of the best. But if someone reaches out to us, we'll analyze and see if they're worthy of being on there. And then I'm thinking of making them do a subscription. But I'm not sure, again, like I want them to be happy. I don't want them to have to be like, what do I have to? Yeah. So then again, I'm like, I might just leave it all. Every supplier, if you're approved and accepted, you can come on board. It's totally free, but we have the paid subscription, like featured listing.
Premium model.
Yeah. Then as well, I'm going to do some like drop shipping. So work with other like products that do like personalized items, like wine glasses, or maybe like portraits. My sister does like portrait drawings, candles, things like that, and have like a drop shipping side to it as well. So we'll just take commission from there. And the next one is other people to advertise to our audience, our email list, our Instagram that's growing now. So let's say, for instance, you got like the night market at Vic Market. They might be coming up and they want to like advertise to couples. They can come to us because we have a specific audience of couples, and there'll be different marketing packages that we can send out emails. We can put your like a banner on the homepage, things like that. And then, I guess that was it for now. It was going to be like the subscription, advertising, and commission. Oh, sorry. I forgot the digital product. So I've got this idea of making these itineraries. So like, instead of you just coming to, let's say you want to go to Lawn, going on there. And like, you can have a look around on what you want to go and see and do yourself. I'm making these digital itineraries that they're only going to be like $9.95, and they're almost like they're going to be for everything. Like no, it's not good jumping into a market that no one's doing the thing because you don't know if it's going to work or not. But I'm confident, and I'm just going to give it a go anyway. Like for everything. Like if you're on a first date and you're trying to find like a real good idea and make these itineraries like so good that it's not just you going on like these other websites and it's like the top 10 best places to kiss on the first date in Melbourne, like some of the ridiculous things I've seen. Actually have something that you can come on, and if you and your partner want to go on a little date night in the city, we'll have these specific itineraries of different themed things to do. And down the coast, like different road trip ideas, different getaway ideas, like a waterfall tour. When you go to Lawn, for instance, there's a lot of little hidden waterfalls, and then like the Redwood State Forest, and then all these other little things that I've researched into and found, and create like a little go-to day trip tour that it's only $9.95 to the consumer. They're going to be like, oh, sweet. Well, this just covers us to what we can do down there. And because it's digital, we don't have to pay for anything. It's like an impulse, easy buy. Yeah. So that's what I want the main focus of the website to be, is about these itineraries that are just for everywhere and everything. If you need something to do, you want something to do, you come to Just for Two. Like you want to travel somewhere this weekend, tonight, dinner, brunch, like we've got the lists for everything.
Love it. It's cool, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And it's definitely, it is tough, like that marketplace business model, just getting it off the ground, because you've almost got like two customers. You've got the suppliers who you need to get on, but you've also got to get the consumers on.
Yeah, totally.
It's the chicken and the egg problem. So
yeah.
We're looking forward to see how you solve that.
Yeah, definitely. It was confusing, and now I'm sort of stuck on like I can see it clearly how I want it to look, but it's just about, like you said, now, because there's so much, you got to get it going. If you're just starting something, if like you're starting something from scratch and you do all this thinking like, oh, what's it going to do? How are they going to, like, how's it going to work? Are they going to like it? Like, you just got to get it going and get some wheels in motion so you can start getting feedback from the audience. Like, people might, the second I release it on February 1st, and I'm like, hey, customer feedback, like you'll get hounded with like, this is shit, this didn't load, it took too long, like why is this like this, the photo should have this, these buttons are too small, this is ugly, and like all of that, you should be like, oh, this is amazing, this is, but you need that to hurry up so you can quickly adjust and suit to what they want. The more you sort of sit there and like keep trying to perfect it, without anyone else's vision other than yours, the slower you'll get to success anyway.
And people will still think it's shit.
Yeah, 100%. You waste 3 extra months trying to make the buttons look good, and then you put it out and people are like, oh, they're shit. That's happened to me multiple times. I'll put it on my Instagram sometimes, and I'll spend hours on it making the front page look good, and I'll be like, what's your opinions? Hoping that people will be like, that's amazing, to like give you a little bit of wind up your butt, so you're like, oh yeah, that's so good. And then people are like, oh, they're too big, the buttons are too big, the font doesn't suit, and you're like, oh, okay. So then you're back to the drawing board. But the quicker you can get it out, the quicker you can suit, or will be able to suit, either market.
It's cool. So a few quick questions just to tie us out here, Jack. It's been awesome hearing your story so far, but just want to know, what's coming up for you in the next year. Sounds like Just for Two's your main project.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're working on at the moment, or is that the main one?
Just for Two and the Entre Hub. So we've got Studio 6, which is like a partnership between me and a videographer, Alvin. And we sort of we fall under the Studio 6 roof. It's just, if he was getting a lot of clients for his video work that wanted marketing stuff as well, and he would palm them off, and then vice versa. If anyone wanted video stuff, I would be like, oh yeah, Alvin. So we sort of joined forces to make an agency. So when we're both, if we do outreach to anyone, we sort of got like a bigger backing. So any clients that we come on board now will fall under Studio 6. But the main focus is definitely Entre Hub and and just for two. That's where, the past year I've spent trying to figure out what I want to do. And now it's all hands on deck.
Love it. So is there anything I haven't asked you, or just anything you want to pass on to the audience before we finish up?
No, I guess if you haven't started anything, like if you have not started anything, but you've got an idea, just fucking start. Like that is it. Just fucking start. And don't do things you don't want to do in life. Like, I don't know how many times I fight about this with, like, not fight, but like frustrate this about like a good friend or my partner or my mum or my sister or like anybody that comes and like, if you're doing something you don't want to do, I know it sounds super simple to just be like, just stop, but do everything you can to stop that. Because you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, and you can actually only do things that you want to do, whether it's like working in a job, whether it's talking to a specific person, maybe you have an asshole partner, maybe your parents are assholes. Like, you don't have to talk to them, you don't have to hang around with them, you don't have to be where you don't want to be. I know it sounds silly, but like it's something I actually live by. Someone causes me grief, I'm like, I'm out. Or it's something that I guess I feel like people just look over and don't spend enough time on being like, you can be super happy.
Yeah, dude, it's such a good piece of advice. It sounds so simple, but it's something I've probably only recently learned in the last few years. You don't have to do anything, and you can actually do the things you want to do, especially in today's world.
Yeah.
So I love that advice.
Yeah, it's strong. It's something that, like, daily, the food, like anything.
Love it, man. What's the best way for people to connect with you, Jack, if they want to learn more about you and see the stuff you're up to?
Yeah, I'd say Instagram. So it's just @ and then Jack Prow. That's it. That's probably where I'm most active. I get a lot of people adding me on Facebook from like these marketing groups and stuff, and they're all just like trying to pitch out. So I would say Instagram would definitely be the best. Facebook can be a bit of hit and miss because there's so many people trying to add you because they all are just trying to pitch their products to you. Definitely Instagram.
Cool. And I'll make sure we link all that up in the show notes. But Jack, you got a fascinating story, and you've really good to come and share everything you've learned about your journey from where you were before, not enjoying what you were doing, and then to starting your online business, the progression you've made, and what you're doing today, helping people. So really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening to this interview with Jack. Really hope you got a lot of value from his story. And if you did, I would really appreciate it if you go into Apple Podcast and leave my show a rating and a review as well. That really helps me out more than you know. And even if you don't use Apple Podcasts, you can still help me out. Just take a screenshot of whatever app you're using listening to the show, post that to Instagram stories, and make sure you tag me in that. I'm at J Harris, which is JHARRISS. And you can tag Jack in there. He's at Jack Prow. And if you can do one of those two things, that would really help me out, and it would mean the world. Have a great day.